emotional instability, cheating, and drama. This is the result of getting involved with the wrong woman. And to break this down, I've got a very good email to share today in which a subscriber went through exactly this. He overlooked the red flags, led with his lust, and he found himself in a relationship with a young girl who had unresolved childhood trauma, mental health issues, and severe character and personality flaws that only caused him a world of pain. Men, pay attention, because when you sacrifice your values and your principles and you compromise and you lead with your emotions, this is the price you pay. And as I've said all the time, you are responsible for the quality of woman that you choose. So if you know better, do better next time around. So with that said, let's get right into it because this is going to be a long one. I'm going to keep his name private, so we're going to refer to him as Jimmy. So Jimmy writes in and he says, "Let me start by letting you know a little bit about myself. I'm 39 and I have a lot of life experiences. I've traveled a lot and I speak 2 languages. I don't own a home, but I'm saving for my future. I do physical work and I'm a musician with his own salsa band in California. I'm a confident man, but not at the moment, obviously due to what he's been through, which you're all going to see. I have a good amount of social life with women around. I live the life of a 28-year-old and often get mistook for a person in their 20s. So he's youthful and takes good care of himself physically. I do feel like I'm aging though inside, especially after what you went through, are understandable. I've had many relationships and only one ended without the actions of a spiteful woman. A few of them I realized that bad things were coming and I pulled out on time. Smart man. I'm red pill, although now I believe I wasn't red pill enough. My high school sweetheart broke my heart and betrayed me very badly, and I often feel like I have relived that many times." Now I want to stop this here and break this down really quick. I did go on a coaching call with him and he gave me more information about his past and his background. This man said he's 39. He never got over the imprint, which was his high school sweetheart. And he told me that back when he was a teenager in high school, that girl he dated, that high school sweetheart, betrayed him and broke his heart. He believed she was a very high quality woman and she made a deep impact on him. And since then, even though he's dated different women, they never really matched up to the quality that she was. And he feels like he never met a woman that reminded him of her until he came across the girl that he met in his story, which you're going to see. So remember, he never worked on overcoming the imprint. He bottled up that pain and he kept it inside. So now every time he goes out and dates, he uses that high school sweetheart as a reference point. He compares every woman he dates to that quality of woman and tries to weigh out if she adds up to that or not. So you're going to see how it plays out. I'll repeat that one more time. My high school sweetheart broke my heart and betrayed me very badly, and I often feel like I have relived that many times. Pay attention to that. For the last 7 years, I have dated a lot and paid attention to red flags, and don't go any further when I realize and picture the future and knowing where it will lead. Very wise. I date women of all ages, but made a rule since I was in my early 20s, no women under 26. 3 years ago, I dated a girl for 4 months. She was 26. We ended up girlfriend and boyfriend, and very soon after that, she moved in with a guy that liked her. They started hanging out on dates, and I told her that either she respects me or I'm walking away right now. So I walked away. Okay? She was not willing to make changes. In other words, she monkey branched, cheated on me, took me a while to get my mojo back, but I did. After a year, I was on full pimp mode. I was dating a lot. But don't mistake my intentions. I don't play with hearts and hurt women on purpose. Very honorable. I'm very honest about my intentions. I may seem like a rascal in the dating scene, but I'm actually a good guy. When I feel a real connection and attraction, I slowly go deeper into the dating phase. But there are always tests that need to be passed. One very important one is loyalty, the most important. Of course, if she's a good person, responsible, etc., I know that it takes years to really know a person. Yeah, you can't expect a woman to be loyal when you first met her. That core value is going to play out over time, especially once limerence fades. That's when you get to see who she really is. Once again, I'm a confident guy with many talents, youthful, athletic, pretty good looking, and I play music. I date girls my age, older, and in their late 20s. When I'm an official boyfriend, I'm very loyal. I can't even cheat if I wanted to. And when I get cheated on, even though I have options to date right away or sleep with somebody, I just can't. So for him, integrity and faithfulness means a lot to him. Okay, so here we have a man that believes in loyalty. This is a value of his. This is something you can't compromise on. So therefore, if that's what he believes in, he's going to expect that as well from a woman. As we all do on this channel, that's what we all believe in: faithfulness, loyalty, and integrity. So that's a little bit about his background. Now we're going to get into his situation. So let me begin with my story. It's 2019, November. I was working a side hustle at a department store. A girl walks in who I take as a customer. A young girl that was tall and had a womanly body, but I would have guessed an age of 24 to 25. We talked for a while, but it was platonic. I was not hitting on her. We exchanged numbers because she showed an interest in soccer, what's what we call in Europe football. So 4 months later, she calls me out of the blue. She was in distress and told me that she needed help. She apparently didn't have a car, so I told her I would pick her up, no strings attached. I'm going to stop here right there. For anybody that hasn't figured it out, this is the first red flag, and I mean, this is a big one. So he's working at a department store. He meets this girl. She walks in, good looking. They talk a little bit. They exchange numbers. So there's obviously interest, right? He said, we talked for a while, but it was platonic. There is nothing platonic between a man and a woman because there is always going to be an element of sexual attraction. And the more you interact, the more the seed is going to grow. So they exchange numbers, and then he doesn't hear from her again. So this begs the question. This makes me think, well, if she was really into him, how come she exchanged your numbers and then nothing ever happened? Because you never called her to make plans to set up a date and get to know each other, and neither did she. Obviously, you're working, as you said, you weren't really interested in her. However, she was willing to exchange numbers. So why would she keep you in her contact info, right? Why would she keep you in her phone book if she's not going to interact with you and get to know you? But then all of a sudden she calls you 4 months later because she needs help. After having no communication, after building no attachment. What I'm seeing here is a woman that isn't really into you for you, yet a woman that is willing to use you. Okay? Because if a female is really interested in you and she perceives you as a man that is of quality, a man that is attractive, and he's, right, a man that is pre-selected by other women, she knows if you are really this awesome, other women are going to try and take you off the market. And because she doesn't want to lose a chance of dating you, she's going to further things along and make herself available to you and put herself in your vicinity so that you can organize a date, or she will flat out ask you herself. But since she didn't do this, and she just calls you after 4 months without building an attachment or getting to know you, what does this tell me about her? She's the type of woman to use you, whether it's for gold digging reasons, whether it's attention, validation, or for security. But this woman is not into you for you. So how come after 4 months she's calling you? If you're a total stranger to her, why is she contacting you asking for help? Doesn't she have a mother and a father in her life? Doesn't she have friends or other family members or acquaintances, work colleagues, college classmates, anybody who could help her that she's actually close to? So this also lets me know that there is nobody in her immediate circle that she has a bond with that she can rely on for help, which is why she's relying on you for help. Did you see how that works? So what does this say about this girl? If she's 24 to 25 and she's close to nobody and she has to reach out to a stranger for help, What does this say about her life choices? Who does she have in her life? Any good people? Why isn't she close to her family? Why isn't she close with any good friends that she can reach out for support in a time of need? Why does she have to go to a stranger? This should raise some serious alarm bells. So she's not into you for you. Whether throughout this time she's been emotionally unavailable because there's an ex or she's been dating other guys, whatever the reason, this woman is not into you for you. Because that after that very same day you exchanged contact info, you guys would have started to talk. You would have gone on a date, you would have been getting to know each other. But after 4 months, radio silence, and then, hey, can you help me? As if she's phoning 911 and you're a first responder. No. This woman is not into you for you. This should raise the first alarm bells. So she calls me out of the blue. She was in distress and said she needed help. She apparently didn't have a car, so I told her I would pick her up, no strings attached. Again, where's the family? Where's the friends? Is there no one she can rely on but you? She doesn't know you. What does that say about her sense of security? A woman knows there are men out there that can take advantage of her and abuse her. So she's going to a man that is totally unknown to her. You could rape her. You could take advantage of her. You could hurt her. And she's going to go to you for help. Something is not right here. Something is very wrong. So I picked her up and she let me know she was a college student. And she didn't know what to do because the soccer coach was making passes at her and she didn't know what to do. So the football coach was causing problems with her. She doesn't know what to do. Again, how is that any of your concern? You're just a stranger. I cheered her up and we went to eat and started hitting it off. I wasn't going for her. I was just naturally flirting with all girls at the time. So he was keeping his options open, but he eventually started to grow closer to this one. After that night, she would call me to hang out like once a week. She would go to my work to find me. After a month, I started to reciprocate. Then we started hanging out 2 to 3 times a week. So this went on for several months, and she seemed like she was a really nice, sweet girl. And then one night, she hit me with a shocking truth. She tells me she's 19 years old. Another red flag. So you're 39 and she's 19. And even if you go back a few years, that's a 20-year age gap. You want to tell me how that works? So let's round it up. Let's say she's 20 and you're 40. 20, it's a 20-year age gap. What do you have in common? Well, yes, women will date men that are slightly older, 3, 5, 7 years, maybe 10, which is a stretch. Anything more than that, you're getting into a territory where you are involved with a gold digger, a user, a woman with a very low self-esteem, or a female that's got daddy issues. Because yes, women do like a man that's a little bit older than her because he's more mature, he's more established in his ways, he's emotionally stable, he's masculine. And men will always go for women that are a little bit younger than them because they're more fertile, more youthful, more beautiful, and typically tend to have a lower body count, even though it's not guaranteed. But that's reality. So when you get into a 20-year age gap, you're not getting involved with a woman that's with you for you. You're getting involved with a woman that is with you for what you can do for her. So if you have all this life experience, this should be common knowledge to you. But again, you get pulled in. And one thing he did tell me, which is not in the email, is that this particular girl reminded him of the ex that was his high school sweetheart. That was the imprint that he never got over, which is why he felt very pulled in by her. That's why. That's why he bypassed all the red flags, because he thought this is a second chance for him to get with that quality of woman once again. He said, so she told me this when I was in my car, and I had the reaction of Marty McFly when his mum tried to kiss him in Back to the Future. She convinced me that her parents will be okay with it, and also that her ex in Chicago was 37, when she visited a year before. and that she seems to be into older men. Again, I'm not going to repeat what I said before. If it's a few years, great. If it's anything older than that, gold digger, use. Her mother's two ex-husbands had the same age gap or one even more. Remember, children emulate their parents' behavior. So she sees the mum can't keep the husband or chose the wrong husband, and now her mother has two ex-husbands and have the same age gap. So she's following the same path that the mother lived. Amazing how that works. That's her blueprint of men. So I calm down. I run it through with a few friends and keep going. I invite her to one of my gigs, had a very stressful gig, but she was awesome. She got me back on track during the break. She was not floating around and she was so good. That was one test passed. Also, nobody saw any age gap problem there, and I asked several people how it looked. She was very soft-spoken and always talked me up. Again, you're dating, you're in the first early stages of limerence. She's going to be on her best behavior. Unless it's consistent after 2, 3, 4, 5 years plus, it ain't real. A lot of my exes would always try to put me down even if it wasn't direct, but she was also so supportive. Never insulted me, and at this time we both decided to be official boyfriend and girlfriend. She goes back to Hawaii for a week and tells her parents, and her mother was very supportive. When she comes back, the pandemic begins. So it's pretty much after 7 months of talking, they become official. That's another red flag. Healthy, mentally stable women that have no emotional baggage, no trauma, if you date them consistently, you court them, you are masculine, you're strong and confident, you have chemistry and compatibility, it will take on average between 1.5 months to 2 months more or less for her to develop an emotional attachment. Not an imprint, but an attachment, which is enough for that limerence to intensify, and there will be small sprouts of feelings of love to where she will want to bond with you and enter a relationship, which is why as a man, all you have to do is just date her, get to know her, the attachment builds itself, and around that time, a mentally stable woman with no ex in the background is going to want to be in a relationship with you. She will bring it up. Where is this going? I want to be with you. What are we? Can we be exclusive? And all you got to do is say yes or no, whether you're ready or not. But if a woman has taken 7 months to be ready, there's other emotions at play that you don't know about. So now we get into the next stage, which is when she comes back from the pandemic. So carrying on with the pandemic side of things. I just got hernia surgery, but she helped me and nursed me so much. She was staying at college dorms. When the pandemic hit, everybody evacuated. She stayed for me, although I didn't tell her to. Well, unless she said to you verbally, I'm staying because I want to be with you, then she ain't doing it for you. You mentioned before she went to Hawaii to tell her parents, to see her parents, right? So if she has such a good relationship with them and COVID hits, it would only make sense for her to go back home, be in close proximity to her mother and father because she loves and respects them and has a great relationship with them. So if she's staying far, far away, back in Cali, in her college dorm, sounds like she doesn't have a good relationship with them. But because you just met her and you're in full limerence, you don't really know much about her yet. These things will come out in time. Her dorms were abandoned, and for about 5 months, it was just me and her. I didn't move in, but she told me she didn't want to be alone either. So I stayed with her 4 nights a week. We got along so well. Typically do at the beginning. I can just recall about one disagreement, but she never insulted or anything, so nothing would ever escalate. That is a good sign. But again, she's going to be on her best behavior at the beginning. So to me, it was great. Fall comes, she puts in for an apartment on campus, I help her move. She has female housemates. Okay. I would stay there 3 nights a week. My intentions were not to abandon her during the pandemic. My life changed too. I went from busy and social to nothing to do every day, even though I had a football club at the time that I was playing with. So he was playing with his buddies, he's being active, he's social. But look at what he said. I had nothing to do every day. No purpose, no mission, no goal. Every man needs that, or his masculinity is going to slowly crumble and he'll become feminine. During our time at the apartment, we got along really well. She always showed interest in going places and playing games together. She was pressuring me to introduce her to my parents. I at the time thought it wouldn't be a bad idea because this girl came off as an angel. Sweet little angel, right? Here's where things start getting strange. This is about September 2020. We seemed to have a disagreement that to me wasn't an argument. No yelling, no insults, no curse words. But she couldn't get it out of her head. I think it was like a disagreement about a movie. We go to bed. The next day, I found out she had cut her left arm from top to bottom with a knife. BPD, personality disorder. This woman definitely has some mental health issues that she's been suppressing. She confessed to me about her family. She would always give me vague answers before and make it seem like it was all good. But now she confessed to me a lot. So now that she's reeled you in, an older man, a guy who's 20 years older than her, that she has nothing in common with other than physical attraction. Now she has a disagreement. She thinks he ain't going nowhere. So now the truth starts to come out. She cuts her left arm from top to bottom. Healthy women, mentally speaking, and healthy men, also mentally speaking, don't do this. At that point, you phone the hospital and you get her medical attention, a psychological eval, and you make sure she's okay. Women that have mental health disorders, guys, is a deal breaker. It's a red flag. Don't play caretaker. She's not your daughter. It's not like you're married to her. She suddenly develops a condition and you push through with her. This is a woman you just met. It's not going to end well. It's not your responsibility. I know it's hurtful, I know it's painful, but you cannot have a healthy relationship based on love, respect, and trust and expect to have emotional stability with someone who has mental health issues. They need therapy, okay? They need support, they need medication, they need help, and that's going to take a long time to see any changes in their behavior. Okay, behavioral therapy as well is what they need, and figure out the root cause of the trauma that is causing her to cut herself. That's not for you to fix because you're not her doctor. And you're going to try and white knight and save her. It's admirable, I respect that, but it's not going to end well for you. So if any of you watching that want to, play the knight in shining armor, don't do it. Go for a woman that is stable, healthy, and normal just like you. Stop trying to fix someone from their problems. But again, he did all of this because it reminded him of the imprint of his high school sweetheart that abandoned him. So, and she confesses things about her family. We're going to see how that plays out just now. So, let's get into the red flags from her family background. This tells you how she was raised, right? This is going to shape her self-esteem, her character, her outlook on relationships and life in general. Because most people don't grow out of the environment they were raised in. She told me that her biological dad had kidnapped her and took her to Thailand when she was 3. He's Mexican, she says. She was in Thailand until the age of 10 and stayed in Chicago with his family afterwards. The mum is from Hawaii and steals her back when she's 11 years old. Great parents. She also tells me that her dad and a male friend would hang out at brothels and clubs and she would tag along as a child. No words. To add all this to her life, in Hawaii, when she was with 2 half-brothers and a stepdad and her real mother, she told me that 3 years ago the mother had left the stepdad for another man. So the mother is a cheater. So some dude marries her, he marries this single mum, she cheats on him, okay? She sided with the stepdad, as she should, because the mother isn't faithful. What does this teach her? So the dad isn't a role model, So she doesn't learn how to trust in a masculine father figure. She has no healthy example or imprint of how a man should be. So she's going to grow up thinking, I guess all men are the same. I guess all men cheat. I guess all men lie. I guess all men are bad. I can't love a man. I can't respect a man. I can't feel safe or protected by a man. Therefore, I'm going to close myself off and use guys for sex, use them for resources, use them for security or provision. This is how you create users and gold diggers. Or the parents, this is how they create them. And then on the mother's side, right, like daughter, like mother, she's not getting a healthy example of what a feminine woman should be like. She doesn't even have a blueprint for her own behavior. So she sees the mother cheating on the stepdad. What does that teach her about relationships? She grows up and thinks, well, I guess this is the way things should be. And this really, you can see this is going to really damage her self-worth, her identity. It's horrible. Parents have such a responsibility to raise strong masculine men and good, virtuous, feminine daughters, but they don't do it. Very few men and women make it happen. Then no wonder society is the way it is. You got bad parents, and they just perpetuate same generational misery. It gets worse and worse until someone comes along and has to break that chain. If you're watching, maybe it's you. Maybe you can work through that childhood trauma and make your future family much better than the one you grew up in. None of that victim mindset over here. You improve, you grow, you learn, be better. He said, I also made the mistake to let her know that I've been betrayed before, so I feel this pain. How is it a mistake to let her know that you've been betrayed? Where is this ego or this pride coming from that it's a mistake? How is that weakness? You didn't get cheated on because it's your fault. You got cheated on because it's the woman who cheated on you's fault. That is who is responsible. Cheating isn't an accident. It doesn't happen by chance. It is a premeditated decision that starts in the mind, and it comes from free will, and it is executed with a desire for selfish reasons. So the person who cheated on you is self-centered, lacks empathy, and wasn't good to you, has no morals or values. That isn't your fault at all. See, you guys have this mindset where you're scared to tell a woman, oh, I'm not going to tell her I got betrayed because it's going to make me look weak. What? Guys, if you're with a girl, you tell her, you know what? In my previous relationship, my ex cheated on me. And you know what? The only thing that taught me is to raise my standards, and now I'm very careful when I date. So if you ever say or do anything that indicates to me that you are unfaithful, I'm walking away. Because for me, loyalty is very important. That's what you say. That's masculine. That's confident. That's real. How is it a mistake to let a woman know that you've been betrayed before, as if somehow you're responsible for getting cheated on? That's cockery. You're telling me you got all this life experience and you're so red pill, and yet you're saying something like that? No. You got to change that mindset right now. That doesn't make you weak at all. It's not your fault for being cheated on. It's the other person's fault. I also mentioned how most of them also came back trying to get me back. Yeah, because they're the ones in the wrong. And they go out, they can't find a good man, they know you were a good guy, and they try and come back to you for temporary comfort. Because it's very rare to find a man who's faithful, who has integrity and has good traits. Anyways, I just proceeded on comforting her because I felt she was such a sweet girl and I wanted to help her. She meets my parents and my mother loves her. My mum feels a special connection with her and takes her in fast. My mum is street smart and doesn't do that. Plus, I've only taken like 2 girls to my mum in my lifetime, so it made a good impact on her mother, on his mother. Early November, before her trip to Hawaii, she ends up in the hospital for a suicide attempt. She took a bunch of pills. This, as I recall, was triggered by a disagreement we had that to me and you would be a Disney-rated G disagreement. I'm devastated at the time and made it a mission to save her life. Take in mind by this time the school assigned her an apartment alone because of COVID, and I pretty much moved in at her request and no need of being alone due to her mental state. You see, now that he's become intertwined with her life, guys, what Jimmy's done is he feels responsible for her, which is understandable because he's in a relationship, he's emotionally invested, he's built an attachment, and he feels like, I've got to rescue her, I've got to save her, I've got to protect her. And now he gets deeper and deeper involved. And as I'm telling you, this is what happens. Whether someone is good for you or not, if you spend enough time around them, you will eventually become attached, whether you like it or not. That's how you get an emotional attachment. More time, more time, more time, more time. You get used to each other. You start to think about each other. You start to miss each other. You start to want and desire each other's affection and presence even more. Next thing you know, you're attached. Now you're emotionally invested. And that is when you want to be very careful. And as a man, use your logic and reason and understand, you know what? I've got a little bit of limerence going on. I'm really into her sexually and emotionally. However, I want to be smart and I still got to take things slow. Because I understand there can still be things about this woman that would indicate she's not relationship material, so I want to be very careful. That is what smart men do. That is what wise men do. And I encourage all of you to do that. But in this case, she's trying to commit suicide, so all of the logic goes out of the window. He goes full emotional, goes, it's my responsibility. I got to save her. When in reality, all he should have done is phone up her parents. Your daughter has attempted to kill herself with pills. Please come and see her. Please get her help. Psychologist, therapist, put her on medication, get a pastor, and you help her out. That is what he should have done. You don't have a ring on her finger. You don't have children together. You are not responsible for this woman. She's under the authority of her father. Whether he's a good man or not, it is her and her parents' responsibility. I know that's harsh, but that's reality. I'm going to tell it to you how it is. Remember, he said, I made it my mission to save her in life. It is very honorable to do that. But what about your mission in life as a man? What about your goals, your dreams? Because you're just going to exhaust yourself by doing this. But you guys are going to see. She goes to Hawaii and comes back. I notice her a little different. She no longer is willing to watch movies with me or do things with me, always with the excuse of a mental state. But as we go on, she ends up spending the holidays with my parents. Gift exchanging. She would tell my mum how much she appreciates and loves her. She didn't have a license to drive in Cali, so I helped her get one. I teach you how to drive. Awesome. That is a good thing to do. And you see, guys, when you're an older man and you have a little bit more experience, or you've just done different things in your life, you're well read, you're educated, you date a woman that's a few years younger than you, as the man, part of you being the leader in the relationship means you teach her, because she's under your wing, she's your rib, right? She's under your submission. You educate your woman. You teach her things that you know. Okay, that's where you enrich her life, and she will look up and admire you because you are a man that can add value to her life. And then she will learn to trust in your decisions more because you are a man that is in control of your own life. Huh? That's a gem right there I dropped. So pick it up and think on it. So that's a good thing he's doing. He's teaching her how to drive, which is true. That's going to build a bond with her. However, that only applies when you date a good woman, guys, who is mentally stable. Because in this case, just to remind you all, in case any of you forgot, we know this girl comes from a screwed up family background. She hasn't done the work. She's attempting to kill herself. She's already cut her arm. And there's a 20-year age gap. And she only reached out to him after 4 months after they first exchanged numbers. So remember, she's not with him for him. She's with him for what he can do for her. But the example I just gave you of how it's a good way to build a bond and lead a woman, it applies to good girls. Good, natural, feminine, traditional women. Not women like this. But you're going to see how it plays out with the wrong woman, just to show you that it doesn't work if you try with a woman that ain't right for you. So I teach her how to drive. I help her buy a car with her money. Her car breaks down and I help her fix it with my own hands. She would do her part. If I wasn't feeling well, she would have medicine delivered. She would take care of me. cook for me. She claimed to have a jaw problem. And couldn't eat anymore. So I would tell her that she doesn't have to cook for me. I drove her from doctor to doctor to help her with her health. We finally get her an MRI and wait for results. I pick her up every day from her new job. Keep in mind, I've never been the type to do a lot for girls and let them take advantage of me. Me and my family sought to help her because she had nobody here and because it appeared she was having mental issues. She gets really skinny and changed her style. She used to look like a woman of 25 and now dresses and acts like a girl of 12. That's very weird. In public, I start getting ugly looks. Her MRI results come in. There is nothing wrong with her jaw. She's getting a bit loopy, she's lying. I'm feeling a pressure closing in on me and start getting panic attacks and feelings of strokes quite often. You're overworking yourself. You're stressing yourself out too much. You're putting her needs above your own. You become a caretaker. You become a provider to a woman that hasn't earned it. Only a woman that gives herself to you, shows you over many years that she's faithful, that she's worthy of being in a relationship with you, that she's worthy of being your wife. That's the only woman you provide and take care of over time. And if she doesn't show you that, you don't give that. Because now you're doing too much and it's starting to affect your mental health. You're pouring all of yourself into her, and what do you get in result? Panic attacks and feelings of stress. I have a small sweet chihuahua that gets along with people and that I rescued years before and that I took to be with me and her. She never liked my dog. As a dog person, you know, that's a cardinal sin and that's a deal breaker. I'm a dog person. I've grown up with dogs all the time. So far, I've had 6 dogs total. I have 2 currently. Guys, never compromise on your principles. If you love animals and you have a dog, and you're with a chick and she goes, I don't like your dog, it has to go. You know who has to go? She's got to go. So now, this is part of, remember, this tells me that you're not controlling the frame in the relationship. You're letting her lead now. Because if you, as a man, lead and you're in a position of masculinity and strength, this is your life with your dog. She comes in to live with you or spend more of her life with you, and as she becomes a part of your life, she should willingly appreciate everything about you. Instead, she's walking into your life and saying, I don't like your dog. And you don't do anything about it. So now the balance flips. You start to become effeminate, she starts to become dominant, and now she leads. Now at this point, any respect she has for you is gonna dry up. So anytime I was on the couch, if me and her were on the couch and my dog would come up to cuddle with us, she would leave the room. She doesn't respect you. And she's doing that on purpose to say, okay, let's see, what's he going to do about it? If that was me, I would tell her, listen, if you don't respect my dog, my lifestyle, you can get out. We're done. You give her one chance after that. If she keeps leaving, what does that tell you about her? If you don't have the same things in common, she's not a dog person like you, and that's important for you. How can you possibly have a relationship of mutual respect and care for each other when something so important for you isn't mutually aligned? It always bothered me. You've got to stand up for yourself as a man. Anytime a woman says or does anything that goes against your belief system, your values, what happens is you betray your values to keep the peace. And then you pay the price for that. And that price is you lose your self-respect. She would leave me by myself in the living room quite often now. I'm losing attraction to her because of the attitude and style change. Absolutely. I still make an effort to be intimate with her, but not as often as she would want. I start sleeping in the living room because I have insomnia and was worried about keeping her up all night. I got used to it. Complacency. Inside, though, I would tell myself she's been so good to me, I can't just abandon her. She's sick and needs help. Definitely seeing some codependency play out here. You're meeting her needs, you're meeting your needs by helping her. What about your needs? They matter too. That's not selfish. Your basic human needs have to be met in your personal life, in your relationship, in your friendships. If not, you will end up giving too much of yourself and get nothing back, and you will end up feeling empty. So I would chalk it down to isolation because of the pandemic and immaturity. So I would tell myself she was normal before, so when the pandemic is over, she will be happy again. And as far as the immaturity, I would tell myself that in a few years she'll be more mature, so I can just wait out some of the silliness. To me, what was good enough for me is that she was a kind, good person, and most important, loyal. Oh, we're going to see how that plays out. It's not really a lot of immaturity. A lot of it has to do with a screwed up background that she never healed from or moved on from, and the fact that you have a 20-year age gap. Oh, she can mature all right, but that's not going to change the fact that she will ever be with you for you. She's going to see you as almost like the father she never had. If she's a 19-year-old girl at the peak of her beauty and fertility, looking the hottest she will ever look, she could get any guy she wants. Why would she go for a man who's 39? A guy who's 20 years older than her? When she can get a guy, she's 19, she can get a guy who's 24, 26. That's a decent age gap difference, more or less. Who's a little bit older than her, who's a little bit more mature than her, hopefully he's masculine, she's attracted to him. There's enough of an age gap to where they have things in common. There's going to be compatibility. And if she does marry him and they age together, they're going to live a healthy, long life together. Whereas you're 20 years older than her, you're going to kick the bucket way before she does. So she can't really have a long-term life with you. Because as you age, you're going to slow down, you're going to need more assistance, and she's going to have 20-odd years without a man that she could have had if you were younger. So remember, the age gap thing is very real. 20-year age gap, nah, it ain't there, chief. You think about that. So let's carry on with the email. We would have disagreements here and there, but no crazy fights. However, small disagreements would make her say that she's suicidal, even if I would explain that everything is okay, and it's okay to disagree about stuff. There was no violence or aggressive fights. Mainly because she was so sweet, so it was impossible to fight with her. Good, you don't want to fight anyway. Fighting destroys emotional attraction, especially if it's consistent over a long period of time. It erodes trust, respect, love. But she would take small things to heart. Well, women are emotional beings and they care a lot about their emotions, especially the things you say and do can have a deep impact on them as the attachment is built. So things you say and do are always going to affect her. But it's your job to remain calm, centered. You communicate with her, you make her feel heard and understood. She pours her emotions out. When she feels calm and peaceful again, that's what you've got to do. You've got to let her talk, let her emotions out, and then she'll be okay. But in this case, if she's emotionally unstable, you will do that and it won't work. The thing is, I got to the point where I felt like I couldn't tell her anything because she would bring up suicide. Side note, when I was watching TV, she would come close to me, but like a timid, scared dog that gets beaten. I would kind of tell her what's wrong. Come lay on my chest. Why are you acting like that? But nicely with humour. I figured it was part of a sickness. About April of 2021, we have a disagreement, of which in reality probably wasn't a disagreement, but she ended up telling me to take her to the hospital. She also cut herself up again. Because now she looks 14, everybody looks at me like I'm dirt. I mean, even if they think I'm 29, her persona now is of a teenager, not the person I met. On the way back from the hospital, I let her know how I was being treated, and she blows up on me aggressively. It's almost as if, because she grew up in such a damaged background, parents kidnapping each other, growing up in clubs and brothels, she never had a childhood, she never got to be a girl. So in a way, mentally, she has a childlike fantasy that's being played out, and she's reenacting that to almost have a childhood back through you being like her daddy. Sick. It's very sick. On the way back, I let her know from the hospital that I was being treated, and she blows up on me aggressively. This is the only time I raise my voice and tell her to shut up. That's going to scare her because you're showing aggression. I also regret saying that I don't deserve this treatment and I should leave. But I apologized and told her I'm here no matter what. Well, when people say some things in anger, there's a lot of truth behind that. You know, what was that saying like? The only people who tell the truth are angry people, drunk people, and children because they've got no filter. There's a lot of truth in jest, and in a way that is a very true statement. You were angry and you said, I don't deserve this treatment and I should leave. Because you did everything for her and you get nothing back. Me and my mother had made it our mission to save this girl's life. She was writing suicide notes and bad thoughts, and it was really tough for me to take. My sanity and health was deteriorating also, but I wanted to remain strong and supportive to her. I feel so stupid that I didn't see what was coming. I would brag to people how she was such an angel. I felt no matter what, even if she's medically crazy, she was a sweet person and loyal, and that I would always be by her side for this. You were in limerence. You were trauma bonded in a way as well, because you were, in a way, dealing and witnessing all the pain, all the hurt she was going through at the hospital, and that causes you to feel stress, fear, worry. That's going to mess up your hormones, your sleep schedule. And remember, you said yourself, you were stressed out, feeling like you were having these little heart attacks in a way, almost like a stroke. I mean, this is affecting your physiology, the very chemistry in your body is changing because of all of the pain you're witnessing and how it's affecting you. Your feelings matter too, man. They do. Red flags. So let me break down the red flags. Of course, a broken family situation, vague explanations, white lies, all begin to unravel after a year. She claimed she spoke Spanish and her dad was Mexican, and I found out later from her mother that the dad is not Mexican and that he is black. She claimed she was a good semi-pro volleyball player, but when I tried playing with her once, she didn't really know how to play and she ran off all emotional when she was playing bad. She claimed to like football and that she even played. She said Messi was her favourite player, but knew nothing about him. Well, Messi's leaving Barcelona, isn't he? Shame. Very good player. I'm really into football, so when I would watch all the matches, she wouldn't ever get into it. Up the Chels, by the way. I'll buy her a Mexico jersey, but now I realise it was all BS. Big red flag that she cuts her mother off completely 5 months prior to the breakup and tells me if she tries to get a hold of me to ignore her. Me and the mum had already a good relationship. The mother tried for months to get a hold of me, and I had to tell her that she doesn't want me talking to you, but I can tell you that she's okay. Later, I would confess that she was having mental problems and some family support would be appreciated. Something is not right. Next red flag. I would offer to take her out now that things were starting to get back to normal from the pandemic, but she would tell me that she couldn't because of a mental condition. She usually wakes me up and I take her to work, but this time she just leaves and takes an Uber. I start sensing something's wrong. Always listen to that gut feeling. I remember I remember she left her old cell phone in my car. I remember the password she told me to get in. I check her Instagram messages. This is where the monkey barging starts. Who is this Brandon? Seems platonic. Wonder if it's a cousin. It must be a cousin. He's from Hawaii too, but lives in Boston. I call her and ask her, is there someone else? She gives me an answer of, how could you ever think that? I would never do that to you, and hangs up. I should have understood what was going on, but I didn't. You were coping extremely hard. Oh, he's just a cousin. Come on, man. You know better than that. And I feel so stupid now. At least you're honest. What I like about this guy is that he's very honest with all the mistakes and everything he overlooked. He's got self-awareness and he can grow and learn from it. It's never too late. Later, I get her at work only to find out that she called the police to come and get her for suicide. She's back in hospital. I call the mum and tell her if the family doesn't come and help her soon, I'm afraid she will no longer be with us. Basically, for the last 4 months, all my concern was to save this girl's life. She ended up in a recovery home for a week. I visit her every day, teared up. She tells me that she has lost hope. She seeks out my mum's help, and my mother would talk to her every day. She tells my mother she's like her real mum that she never had. In a way, that's a true statement, because her mother really wasn't there for her. You know, both parents are kidnapping her, and her mum had 2 failed ex-husbands and cheated on the stepdad. When she gets out, I pick her up and bring her to get groceries. For some reason, I almost faint at the grocery store. She's very attentive and takes me outside to rest in my car and brings me water. When she's done shopping, I still can't drive because of the symptoms. She then gets out the car and starts doing an exorcism on the ground. Yeah, she's a real keeper. Men, please, save yourself. Do not get involved with a woman that has mental disorders. When you spot these things, leave. She's not going to give you children. She's not going to be a wife. You're not going to have a healthy relationship. You're just going to be caretaking her for the rest of her life. And you will get no love and reciprocation or any appreciation back. And just like him, your mental state will deteriorate. You will faint, you'll have strokes, you will lose your masculinity. That's the price you pay. Do you want that? When there's better out there for you? And for the ladies watching too, avoid men that are messed up too. They're off the charts. They're off the table. If you're a woman watching this and you meet a guy and he's suicidal, at least at the point in his life right now, he's not relationship material. Let him seek help. If somebody's a drug addict, avoid them. Now, if somebody has gone through rehab and they've overcome that, great. If somebody used to be suicidal but they've overcome that, great. But until you see that, or they've told you about that, don't date them because it's not safe for you. That's why you have boundaries, to protect yourself. Now she's having an exorcism on the ground. I pick her up and somehow I made it home. That night we got intimate, we had sex. Why are you having sex with a woman that's just had an exorcism on the ground? And she's mentally unstable. That's not good. She tells me that she wants to take off with me and to live in another more affordable state, and that she has a lot of money saved up. So this woman is suicidal, mentally unhinged, and she's going to make a rational, logical decision. I don't think so. I assume it's her college grants, probably like 10K. I tell her that I need to save up too, so you only have 1 year left of college. You should finish that, and by that time, we will have enough. She starts telling me how college doesn't make a difference anymore. The next day I come back from work and she had dinner already. She had dinner ready. I sit down to eat with her. She goes to the room to lay down and starts speaking in tongues, going crazy. My face says it all, doesn't it? I go lay down with her and talk to her and hug her. I lastly ask if she's taken the medication they prescribed her, and then she blows up on me. I nicely tell her I meant nothing by it, I'm just trying to help you. She locks herself in the bathroom and starts banging all the walls, perhaps too negatively. Excited, I tell her, whoa, chill. Stop, we have neighbours. What can we do? Do you want to go back to the hospital? She loses it even more and runs outside. I'm concerned for her life and I run up to chase her. It's dark outside. She starts climbing a tree, avoiding me with someone on the phone. A guy. I'm telling her, baby, come down, it's going to be okay. We can go wherever you want. She jumps off the tree and runs away from me. I tell her that I will call her mum, and she got really mad about that. She runs towards the apartment where there is a cop knocking on the wrong door. I don't catch up on time, and the cop sits her down while another cop starts talking to me. I explain to the cop that everything that is happening, main focus being a mental health and suicide. The female cop is very understanding. She then gets put on an ambulance van without looking at me. The male cop comes to talk to me. So the cop comes to me and asks if I live there. Now guys, before I carry on with the email, you might hear in the background, I can hear the neighbours with their kids jumping in and out the swimming pool. So if you hear any noises, that's what it is. You might hear it through the video. Anyway, carrying on. So the cop comes and asks me if I live there. Stupidly, I said no to protect her because it was against the rules of camp housing. I was paying half the rent there for the months I was there though. He tells me I had to remove my things and get my car. He escorts me upstairs, puts me to the side and says, "It's over, buddy. She wants you gone and there may be someone else." I thought he was crazy and was telling him that I've been helping her with her health for the last 5 months. I did leave though. I didn't call her at the hospital the next day because I was shaken up by everything that happened. She called me the next day 5 times while I was showering. On my way to work, I picked up the phone. And she starts asking our relationship status. I said, I don't know. You tell me, because the cop told me some weird stuff. She tells me that she never told him that and that he was lying. Come on, she's mentally unstable and you're going to believe a word she says. I told her, I believe you, baby, so you're just eating all the lies she's telling you. Great. After work, I tried to calling her, but this is the following day. So the next day, I'm in the shower. She sends me a message. Doesn't respond. After work, I tried calling her, but the mental ward nurse kept saying she was on the phone. Someone's on the line with her. The next day, once again, I'm in the shower. She sends me a message saying that I'm not being supportive and that if I would have called yesterday and that I would have known that her grandma passed away. So she tells me I can go get all my shit out of the house. I tried calling her back, but she wouldn't answer. The next day she calls me and doesn't let me speak and says it's over and hangs up. I take it defensively and tell myself to get my stuff. So she's pretty much Jekyll and Hyde. She's up and down, up and down. Again, mental health. What can you do about it? It's not your fault. I go check her old phone. I realize that Brandon has been talking to the dad and her. She let him know when she was back in. I stay the night at the apartment after a gig, and when I wake up and get ready for work, I look outside and see cops looking up at the apartment. I'm scared because I was like, what the heck did she tell the cops? I didn't know why they were there. It did cross my mind maybe she killed herself, but it also crossed my mind that she told them a lie, or maybe the cop would get me for breaking and entering. I get ready to confront the cops, grab my dog and my stuff, and go downstairs to take out the car. As I take out the car, the cops are going to the door on the other side. So I just keep driving. I noticed a few of them look at our cars, but by some crazy luck, they look the other direction when I'm passing them. Now it's possible they were looking for someone else because they never followed up. Nothing ever came to it, but I got spooked. I get to work with my heart beating like crazy. At this time, I really had no idea what was going on, but obviously Brandon was a suspect. Yeah, Brandon was a suspect of infidelity, he says. Her mum reached out to me and I spill all the beans. We come to the conclusion that Pablo, her ex-husband, is masterminding the breaking up of me and my ex. That's crap. It's nobody else's fault if she's going to cheat on you. That's her own decision. No one can force her or puppeteer her decisions. She's got free will. Even if she's mentally unstable, the moments when she is stable, she's making that choice to betray you. It is what it is. You don't want to accept that? You can cope all you want, but that's reality. There are messages from her stepfather Pablo talking about her returning to Hawaii and about how he gave Brandon the hospital phone number. Why? Because from what my ex has told me, he's still sour about the divorce, and because the mum supported me and Jennifer, I'm going to call her, Jennifer's relationship. He had to crumble it down because he doesn't want anybody to be happy. And so the mum is great at choosing men in her life. I mean, just a great family overall. Not. Look, even if the ex-husband was doing that, the stepdad was doing that to Jennifer, it was still her decision. If she really wanted to be faithful to you, she would have been. Whether their stepfather got involved or not, and brought this Brandon guy into the picture, if he didn't exist, she would have just found somebody else. She had the willingness and the desire to cheat, and she acted upon it. No one can influence her to cheat, only herself. So, whether the stepdad is bitter and angry and he wants everybody to suffer, don't use that as an excuse. That's not why she cheated. He didn't coerce her or force her to cheat. She has free will. As I've mentioned, she cut off the mum like 5 months prior and talks to the stepdad almost every day. I'd never spoken with him, and the mother also explained to me why she left Pablo, the stepdad. Yeah, supposedly he was aggressive and violent. She says she also said leaving with another man was wrong, but she was dealing with violence. I mean, this guy dated a single mum. Look what happened. She's still with the new guy and they seem happy, but I don't know. Also, the mother is completely on my side about this. She remembers all of the good things I did for Jennifer. She video called me happy birthday, and she video called me when my ex was to meet my parents and give us good wishes. I should have insisted on reuniting them with Jennifer and then deciding to block her. Damn, I always had like a mental breakdown and suicide talk always in the back of my mind, so it prevented me from handling things the right way so many times. Some of her behavior I just kept quiet because of that too. You compromise, you settle, you sacrificed your values. For instance, how she treated my dog. If there was no mental and suicide talk, I would have handled that a long time ago. So now I have no communication with her, and I have music gigs that I had to do and work in between. At least you're occupied. Start to monitor her own cell phone. Bad thing to do. You're not going to get anything from that. And I see that she has new messages between Brandon and her, meaning she was no longer in a mental ward. But she wasn't at the apartment either. The messages I see are about how much they love each other. They sext, they're looking for a place in Honolulu, he buys a ticket from Boston to Hawaii, and of course all kinds of stuff talking about me, how I am toxic, and that I was ashamed of her in public, and how I don't hug her in the house, and I wasn't affectionate. And all of his answers were agreeing with everything and saying, I'll never be ashamed of you, I'll always hug you. They're just thin limerence, man. I mean, you shouldn't even give a damn. You should have a good riddance mindset after what she did to you. Have some self-respect. Now, to be honest, I did get complacent, but I always had an explanation, and she said she was okay with it. Again, you let her lead at the end. You ended up doing everything surrounding her illness. But this is understandable given her situation. There was really nothing more you could have done. The only thing you should have done was leave earlier. But you became attached, became soft, and you settled. I was also blamed for turning her family against her. What a sweet girl. You said she was an angel, right? Yeah. Because my ex got my mum involved before, and because the cops got involved, I told my mother everything. Jennifer ended up sending a message to my mother saying thank you for everything. Because I broke up with Jimmy, I can't talk to you anymore. I then proceeds to block my mum, basically dumping my mum too. My mother, knowing about the other guy, sent her a message through Facebook saying that we all have a choice of good and evil. And I hope you choose the right path. A very sweet thing to say, however, she's saying this to someone who's mentally unstable, so it's going to fly over her head. But she didn't give any details of anything. She then sends a nasty text to my mother about how karma will come back to her because there were always two sides of the story. What two sides of the story? You mean the one where you were faithful, honest to her, and then she's the one who cheats on you? She's the one in the wrong, not you. So you rest easy knowing you did nothing wrong to her. In fact, you helped her through her mental issues. You did everything you could. You were a good man to her. By the way, I investigated Brandon through his Facebook. He's 26, seems to have a lot of mental problems. He had a girlfriend in October of 2019, right before Jennifer met me. What a coinkydink. Now it makes sense why when you met her, there was a period where you exchanged contact info, 4 months, you have no interaction until she calls you as a stranger, you being a stranger, hey, can you help me with something? There was an ex in the background. All of that time. Truth always comes out, doesn't it? There you go. So, I now know through the messages that it was her. It was a long distance relationship and they seemed to have known each other from Hawaii back in high school. They emotionally imprinted each other then. She then messaged me to get my stuff out of the apartment, which I'd already done, but I ignored those messages. I never let her know that I knew what was going on. It was hard to hold in, but it was more of a case where I wanted to gather as much evidence as possible from their messages to prove innocence if she was going around telling everybody lies. Fair enough. I did notice that when Brandon wasn't reacting too much to the accusations, she sent one weird message. What if I told you he was physically beating me? Would you care then? Then he asks, was that happening? And she changed the subject. It reminded me of how she would explain to me how horrible her mother had been recently, that she had to block her. It was a bunch of vague answers. I mean, one was that she fell asleep after work when they were in Hawaii. She sent the document late. That's pretty much it. So the mother, when she first contacted me, she was like, I don't know what happened. She blocked me out of nowhere. Besides that stranger messed up beating comment, this was about hugs and attention. Her excuse to monkey brush. So I figured that she knows that's not a valid excuse, so now she has to make up things that weren't real in her head to justify her actions. Mental gymnastics. This was the most unstable relationship that I've ever had. Are you kidding me? This was the most chill and stable relationship that you've ever had. What were your other ones like? Why? Because she was really sweet and never insulted me. That doesn't make a relationship stable. When the girl's cutting herself, attempting to kill herself multiple times, dragging you down with her, that's not a stable relationship. Only once a month or every 2 months she would have mental breakdowns, but because I knew it was medical, I wouldn't take any of it personally. So all this toxic environment and I'm a monster talk is fabricated. I was really nice to her. I mean, did I yell and scream when Timo Werner missed an easy potential goal? Yes, but towards her I was super chill. And now it starts making more sense. See, she was fishing for fights, but I wouldn't fall for it. She would come back to me like a scared dog to pretend in her mind that I was some redneck wife beater. That's funny. It really hurt me because I was good to her and did a lot for her, and I really cared. Her attentiveness touched me. Her building me up touched me, never insulted me, fed me all the time. That's where things always told me she didn't have. These were things I always told her she didn't have to do. Both my parents loved her. This all came sudden out of the blue. Reminds me of Star Wars Episode 3, Order 66. I mean, I don't think she realizes how good we had it. Now how good she had it, and not how good she had it, how good we had it. She's mentally unstable. She doesn't even know what's going on half the time. And the time she does know, she's not treating you well. Look at her actions. I mean, maybe Brandon and her live happily ever after, but I mean, if they both have mental problems and started their relationship shady, I don't know. It's none of your business now. let it go. Days go by, I just try to say she's not good for me and get her out of my head, but it's so hard because I never confronted her. Not to beg, but to let her know that I know everything. I decided to take a look at her cell phone again. I see her father scolding her, and how he didn't give Brandon your number so that he can hook up. He said, he's an ugly guy too. And he said, don't do this stuff again, you're acting like your mother. Wow, what a great father. But hey, remember, he kidnapped her too and took her to a brothel, so he's not really an exemplary father. And we know she doesn't love and respect him, so she's not really going to heed to his counsel, advice. So for some reason, I felt like I had to contact the dad. Next day I tried, big mistake. He doesn't pick up, but then sends me an irate message that I'm an abuser. Takes one to know one, right? I tell him that I have proof that this is all fabricated and that this is all about her monkey branching cheating. I respectfully message him these messages at the end and I tell him to stay strong and have a good night. I then talk to the mother. The mum is the person you can actually have a conversation with, even though the father seems like a total Neanderthal. So of course, no excuse for cheating, but I have the feeling she was actually dealing with a dumbest possible violent guy. But who knows? I wasn't there, I could be wrong. True. So I exchanged Facebook with the mum and thank her for talking with me and being supportive. At the time I get a text from my ex, telling me to stop following her and to leave her alone. By the way, at this time I did find out that through her messages, she was in the home at the hospital. Oh, they sent her to a home for troubled people. So I took the moment to finally text her, and I'm not proud of this, but I wanted to show no emotion, but I sent her a cheater rant. The next day I sent her this final message. This is the last time you will hear from me, unquote. You were talking to another man, or you were going out with me for months. That's the definition of disloyal and unfaithful. Nobody's perfect, and there were things that I did that I didn't like that you did also. But just because we would have a disagreement, I'm not going to leave the room to text one of my exes so she can appease me and agree with everything I say, knowing that it's wrong. I could have, but I didn't. I don't do that. The correct way is to have a conversation about it. If it leads to separation, then so be it. But not to monkey branch from man to man, not to emotionally cheat. That leads to actual betrayal. Talking to another man behind my back for months and then cutting me off suddenly to tell him you love him 2 years later is still cheating. That is the wrong way to do things. May God have mercy on your soul. She never replied back to any of my messages, but I took it upon myself to see what her and Brandon were saying about this. Again, this is why you're struggling to heal. You keep looking at what they're doing. You've got to put that phone away. You already know enough. Start the healing process. Get a support group and move far away from this. It's possible. They didn't talk about this, but instead how their relationship would be stronger. She does question for a sec if what they are doing is wrong, and he slips up and says how they were talking for months. But at the end they start talking about how much they love each other and even talk about marriage. More limerence. He put her on Facebook as a girlfriend and she sends him pictures of herself and it looks like she gained weight. She also seems to be mostly cured from her mental problems. No. They talk about this. The selfies she sends him are her wearing devil horns and devil horn shadows. Pretty satanic. Yes, devil horns. Well, her style has changed, and I would say I dress cool and nice, and she dresses like my style too, but more like an adult until around the time she cut off her mum 5 months ago. Now she dresses emo vampire. Again, what does this matter? I mean, you're not with her anymore, so it is what it is. The dude is younger than me, but a total different animal. Not on my status, to put it lightly. Again, you had a 20-year age gap. She was never with you to begin with. If this guy's got mental disorders and he's a scumbag just like her, then they deserve each other. I know he's not a good man, but don't take your anger out on this guy. She was unfaithful because she chose to be. If it wasn't him, it would have been another dude. Definite downgrade, but I guess appeasing to her attention needs. True statement. So anyways, since that night last week, I put away her old phone in a drawer for good. Trying to forget about this, but as everything has calmed down, the pain has hit me hard. Harder than ever for many different reasons. All my exes that have wronged me have at least given me the respect and decency to meet with me and let me look them in the eyes to hold them accountable. And then for me to walk away. It's not an ego thing. You are not going to get closure with someone who's mentally unstable. It ain't going to happen. With narcissists, cheaters, pathological liars, cluster B personality types, people with BPD, unhealthy personality or character flaws, you ain't going to get closure, man. It doesn't happen. And the last time I've ever seen her face was in person when she jumped down from that tree. And anyway, this is my conclusion of what I think actually happened. And then I actually proceeded to have a coaching call with him. So that's the actual end of the video. So this is his situation. And as you can see, it's pretty intense. I did, as I said, I coached him. Things went very well. And recently, in fact, he gave me an update. So if he does give me permission, I'll put that in another video, follow up with a part 2 on this situation. However, in conclusion, guys, this is what's going to happen if you get involved with a lady who unfortunately has mental health problems. There's all the red flags, there's all the trauma she had from her upbringing. It just won't end well for you, and you will really hurt your self-esteem in the process. This guy was confident, he was happy, he got involved with her, and now it's destroyed him. He's lucky he didn't have kids with her. He's lucky he didn't marry her. So, he can walk away scot-free and just heal, and when he's ready, choose a much better quality one. So with that said, I know it's been a very long one, I hope you will enjoy it. If you would like to send me a situation such as his, or any questions you have, any video suggestions, you'd like to book a coaching call, the email will be down in the description and on the About tab of the YouTube channel. By all means, if you like the video, give it a like, subscribe, it helps me out. And if you would like to support my channel in any way, you can share this video and my content with any friends or family members that you think may benefit from watching this stuff. So with that said, hope you will have a lovely day. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. God bless you all. I'll see you all in the next one.